So I just flipped the page over thinking I would do writing the equations of graphs for you, and then I realized these other two systems were in here. And what's neat about this is a parabola, and this one is a parabola as well. I had to stop and think, y squared, x, that kind of thing. So that means I do have parabolas here. In fact, these two are parabolas, and parabolas can intersect in different ways. I mean, it all depends on the direction they're going, like a parabola going this way versus a parabola going this way. You could have 4 intersections. So this thing could have all kinds of craziness happen. Well, if you're looking at this to solve for one of them, if I wanted to solve for x, I could, but that's a whole lot of substituting to go in. I'm going to show you something crazy on this one. If you remember, there was another method when we were in algebra to solve, and that was elimination. Do you see that right here I have 2 x's that are exactly the same size? They're both x. So if I could multiply something through by a negative and make one negative, one positive, either way, it would cancel. And then everything else would add up. And I would be left with all y's. Well, once you have all y's, you can solve for it. So it seems to me like the y's, this top one would be the nicest one, because look at all of these numbers in here. It starts with a negative. That would make this a negative. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay? Let's see how many answers we have. So I'm going to change every sign in here. And you can change a 0 to a -0, but it doesn't matter because it's 0. It's neither positive or negative. So in here, positive, negative, positive, positive, negative. I like a different color so that you can tell what I've done. Now I'm just going to add them. When I add them, I will get 19y squared. Oh, the x's are gone. That's what I wanted to happen. Plus 152y plus 0. Would you look at that? All of those canceled out. And I have a sneaky suspicion that 152 is divisible by 19. Let's find out. 152 divided by 19, 8. Would you look at that? Okay, so that means I can factor out a 19y, leaving me y plus 8 equal 0. Hold the phone. Are you serious? Yes, I am. There it is. So that means, remember this was a y squared. I'm going to have 2 solutions coming out. So my 2 solutions are 19y equals 0 and y plus 8 equals 0. So y is 0, dividing by 19. Y is -8, subtracting 8. Okay? Well, how in the world then do you get your other answers? Well, this is where, and I need to clean this up, I have to go back in and plug it into one of the answers. Now this is actually going to take a little bit more work. I'm going to do one and leave you the other one to try, because there's not as many. Alright, so if I plug in 0 for all of my y's, I will get 0 for that y, this x plus x minus 0, so that's gone, minus 7 equal 0. So the 0 is not there. X minus 7 is 0, x equals 7. Hey, that wasn't so bad. So 7, 0 is one solution. If I plug in a -8 for this, well, it's going to get bigger, but I think I'd rather have this one with a -y squared and a -8y as opposed to 18y squared and 144y. So given the options, yeah, the negative of -8 squared, wow, this can cause problems, plus -8 times -8 minus 7 equals 0. Okay, I want you to see what I have. I have negative of -8 squared. -8 squared is positive 64, but this negative is on the outside. Plus x And negative 8 times a negative 8 is positive 64. Minus 7 equals 0. Okay, so this one, these two cancel. X minus 7 equals 0. X is equal to 7. So that means I have another solution at 7, comma, negative 8. Okay, there's my two solutions. They ran into each other in two places. All right, done. I am going to leave number 11 for you. I will go back and solve it in a minute just because I'm curious, because that was kind of fun. I am a sick kind of math teacher, right? We're all a little touched, us math teachers. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one. Write an equation for the graph. Okay, when I go into write an equation for this graph, and I'm going to label this video writing equations from graphs. Okay, there's my center. Can you tell what the radius is? Unless I'm mistaken, my radius is 3. I'm 3 in every direction. So the center, I need the center. It's 1, 2. And on 1, 2, I have to work with the equation of a circle. X, y equals radius squared. So 3 squared is 9. And this is going to be minus 1 minus 2. I'm done. Hot dog. Lovely. See if you can find the center of this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And say r equals 4. And my center is negative 1, 0. Please be careful when you're doing this. So you have to go negative 1 and up 0. You may have to say out and up. Make sure you keep these straight. A few of you had those mistaken on the last quiz. Just messing up on some of the ordered pairs. Not to say that I can't, given the right situation, or that I'm tired enough, but, and this is my r squared. So let's fill in what we know. R squared is 16. The center is negative 1 and a 0. And of course, you can leave out the plus 0. All right, looking at this one may take a minute more, but it shouldn't be too bad. Guys, I think there's a mistake in this one. In fact, I promise there is, because if you look at this distance from the focus to the vertex, the value is 2. And then we have a directrix, and the value is 1. That directrix cannot be 1. This directrix needs to be up here. It should not be here. This should be at y equals negative 1. So trust the P for here, because this one's in the wrong place, because this P is supposed to be 2 as well, not 1. All right, so with that done, we fixed that. Let's get this in the right. Okay, so I'm out 2, down 5. No, out 2, down 3 for the vertex. All right, and then P is 2, so A is equal to 1 over 4 times P, and it's 1/8. And see, this is going down in a negative direction. That makes my A a negative. So when I fill in this equation, it is going in a y direction, so it starts with y, and it's A times x minus h squared. Let's fill in these equations. The vertices is 2, negative 3, so that's the negative 3, that's the 2. The A is negative 1/8, and I'm finished. Okay? Pause it if you need to. This one, this is really hard to see, and I believe this is a typo. This is V is 2.25 negative 1. I believe this is meaning the F is 2.25, because the 2 is right here. 4 is right here on that line. So this is the vertex right there. So this is the vertex. So that should be the foci, is 2.25. And that means this is located at -1. Be careful with this because I just realized that's 2. So here's 1 here. There's 3. All right. So on this one, look at the direction it's going, X or Y. If you said X, you're right. All right, let's see what we know. We know we have a vertex of 2, -1. So I can fill in the 2 here, the -1 there, and then this 0.25 is what is telling me how close it is to the vertex. P is 0.25. So A is 1/4P. That just becomes 1. So that answer is a 1. Now, if you don't have the 1 there, I don't care. If you have it there, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay? All right. We haven't seen one like this in a minute. I feel like it's been a while. We did these back in this unit. So this is actually just really helping you get ready for the test. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for the axes of symmetry. They're called the major and minor axes and an ellipse. But notice how this is 2 on each side, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. I have my center. The center is, that's a 4 because I see the 2 and the 6. So 4, 2 is my center. So this is an ellipse. X minus plus Y minus equals 1 over something. Now look, the X direction is a 2, so that's a 4 because it's 2 squared. And in the Y direction, it's a 4. So 4 squared is 16. Now the center, I just straight up fill it in. 4 for the X, 2 for the Y. And if anybody wants to know, this is the A value. A is 4. But it doesn't matter because right now I'm not finding the foci. But if I am, I would need to know A and B. This is the A, this is the B, because in an ellipse, A equals largest denominator. Okay, so I'm going to try that again. Center, center, out 2, up 5. A, actually A is not 1. Well, A is 2 and B is 1. This 2 and 1, that's in the X direction, Y direction. So I'm going to go ahead and set this guy up. All right, so all the stuff I have to fill in. Well, this was the easy part, 2, 5. All right, that's my center. And then in the X direction, I had a 2, so 2 squared is 4. In the Y direction, I have a 1 because 1 squared is 1. If this is not here, I'm okay with that. Okay. Last 2. Okay, whew, I'm getting tired, guys. It's pushing my bedtime. All right, so this, I need a center. And I'm going to need, gosh, so much. So this is -1, out 1, up 0. So this is my center. And I notice in the Y direction, I have 3. And in the X direction, I have 4. I notice that this hyperbola is opening. Remember, if this was just a parabola, it's opening in the Y direction. this hyperbola is opening in the y direction. So it starts with a y. Y minus x minus equals 1. Okay, that's my setup. Now, the center, pardon me, -1, 0. When I put in a -1, it's going to change the sign. You're welcome to put a 0 as a placeholder. It just fills it in, makes me happy, right? It gives me something to write there. Now, look, in the y direction, right there, this is the y direction. It's 3 tall. So under the y, it's 3 squared, or 9. Let's just make that 9. I don't want to leave 3 squared. And in the x direction, it's 4, so it's 16 because it's 4 squared. Okay? Now, I'm going to point out this because here I said the ellipse A is the largest denominator. Now, A is different. A in a hyperbola the A comes first. A is first denominator. So this is A. This is also our delta. It's under the y. It's delta y for using it for slope. This is my B, which is also the delta x for finding the slope of the asymptote, this slope right here. So be careful because this slope is 3, it's going to be 3 over 4, okay? Delta y over delta x, m equals plus or minus delta y over delta x, which is 3 over 4. Which means this guy right here, if you were to go to write the equation of that, he's not crossing at 1, and a lot of you all will put 1 if you're just looking at it, not paying attention. Easy mistake to make, but it is not going to work for you. Just saying. So be careful. That is your slope, and you all need some extra work on that. This is not the time or place for it. So let's go ahead and finish this up. Almost done. I'm going to find the center. The center's at -1, -1, which makes it really easy to write. But you also have to say, oh, by the way, I didn't point this out. These are the vertices. A lot of you all mixed up the vertices. The vertice is where it touches the box. The hyperbola touches the box as the vertex. Okay, and you have 2 of them. So here are my 2 vertices, here and here, here and here. So this is going in an x direction. So it's going to start with x. X minus something squared minus y minus something squared equals 1 over, let's see. Well, fill in -1, -1. We can't mess up there. They're going to match. This direction coming out from here, these are all 1 box apiece. 1, 2, 3. This is 3 squared or 9. And going up 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 squared is 16. Okay. So on this one, my A is 9. My 16 is my B. That's the same thing here. These two are the only thing between these two that kids kept mixing up is a chronic mistake. Is you would want to put the Y first, or you'd want to put X first every time just because it's what you're supposed to do. That's not the case, guys. Whichever direction this guy is opening in. And if you could take this and zoom out. Why don't I show you this one? I can show you one of these. Hold the phone. Alright. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to minimize this. Okay, so stop this, pause it if you need it again. I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to go to Desmos for a second. I'm going to show you something. Desmos graphing calculator. That's what I want. Okay, graphing calculator. And I'm going to type in this equation. X plus 1 squared over 9 divided by 9. Oh, now we have this funky looking parabola. Minus y plus 1, y plus 1 squared over divided by 16 equals 1. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this, you can see down here in the corner, you can see the picture. This is the graph of what, and I can zoom in on this graph. Okay, this is the picture of the graph, and look what Desmos has done. What I'm going to do with Desmos is I'm going to zoom out. If I zoom out far enough, number one, it turns it into an X. But if you see this, this is opening like, it looks like it's opening around the x-axis. Now, the reason it looks like it's around the x-axis and it's slightly off is because we're so far out. But that line that it's symmetric around is the x-axis, not the y-axis. And you may be going, yeah, but it's both. I get that. But I'm thinking of our line of symmetry being this line right here. Okay, that would be our axis of symmetry for each individual parabola. So that's what it looks like when it's opening around the x, when it's going in the x direction. And this line that I just drew, this axis of symmetry, it's parallel to the x-axis. Okay, so that may help you. I hope it does. I'm done for tonight. All right, have a good one.